The surprising history of the creation of the NFL. The NFL is the most popular sports league in the United States of America. The NFL has generated a revenue of over $18 billion and has more than 18 million people watching per game. The Super Bowl, which is the championship game for the NFL, is the most watched event on TV per year. And Super Bowl LVII is the second most watched event in U.S. history, with 115.1 million viewers. From its humble beginnings, the NFL has been a sports league anyone, no matter race or religion, can play. Football. From 1869 to 1918, before the creation of the NFL, was college football only, and was really only played on the East Coast until later in the 1890s when it expanded more westward. College football back then was extremely deathly brutal. There were almost no pads or helmets, and the only kind of helmets they had were little thin pieces of leather with a strap. The only kind of pads they wore were shin guards. They would dig into your shins and make you bleed. The first American football game ever played was between Rutgers University and Princeton University. The game was played November 6, 1869 in Brunswick, New Jersey, with only 100 people in attendance.
The preliminary arrangements for the game provided that there should be 25 on each side. These rules provided, among other things, that there should be no free kicks and no catching or holding of the ball.
After that, the attendance went up for each game. Popularity grew, and then boom, it was the first full college football season. There were only 2 games a whole season, and the other game Princeton won, which meant they unofficially won the national championship. Skip forward 25 years, college football has turned into a big thing, and has many more teams come in, join, and play. In 1919, the first NFL teams were created. Those first teams were the Green Bay Packers, the Chicago Cardinals, now known as the Arizona Cardinals, and the Dexter Staleys, now known as the Chicago Bears. Those 3 teams were just created in 1919, but did not start playing until 1920. The Green Bay Packers were created and owned by Earl Curly Lambeau and George Calhoun. The Dexter Staleys were created and owned by the Dexter Starch Company, and the Chicago Cardinals were created and owned by Chris O'Brien. The reason for the creation of the NFL was college football got so popular and they needed to expand into a professional league, so the players had something to do after college. After college football, they were most likely so injured and brain dead that football was really all they could do. What really sparked the creation of the NFL was money. The founders believed that they could create a sports league that would take over the world and make them a lot of money. On a cloudy day in Canton, Ohio, the NFL was created. The NFL was created on September 17, 1920. The founders of the first teams, plus some other people who were interested in the idea of a professional football league, they gathered in a Smoky, Ohio car showroom, a Huntmobile showroom. The room was filled with cigarette smoke, but on the hood of a Huntmobile, the NFL documents were argued over and then eventually signed. And on that fateful day, the NFL was created. The first teams were the Akron Pros, Canton Bulldogs, Dexter Staleys, Chicago Cardinals, Cleveland Indians, Dayton Triangles, Hammond Pros, Massillon Tigers, Muncie Flyers, Rock Island Independents, Columbus Panhandles, and the Rochester Jeffersons. They all agreed that all teams must not have their players drink alcohol on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. These were mostly on Saturday and Sunday. The founders decided that pay for each player would be equal and not biased based on anything, so there was a fair system. The first NFL season was in 1920 and featured 12 teams that started, what is now the biggest sports league in America. The first NFL game ever played was between the Dayton Triangles and the Columbus Panhandles on October 3, 1920, and was played at Triangle Park in Dayton, Ohio. The Dayton Triangles won by a score of 14-0. The season went on, and then the season was over. Akron Pros were named the champion of the league. Even though there was no official championship game, they had the best record, and they were crowned the first NFL champion. The 1921 to 1932 seasons, the champion of the league was determined by who had the best record in the league. In 1921, the Green Bay Packers joined the league, even though they were founded in 1919, along with the Detroit Heralds. The 1923 season, the Duluth Eskimos entered into the league. They never won anything, and then in 1927 they moved to Washington, D.C., and were renamed the Washington Commanders, one of the now current 32 NFL teams. And in 1933, they had their first championship game, played to determine the champion instead of just who had the best record. The Chicago Bears defeated the New York Giants 23-21 to win the first ever championship game. The first draft was in 1936, which picked the best college football players to play in the NFL with a higher chance of success. In 1967, the first Super Bowl was played, Super Bowl I. The game was played between the Green Bay Packers of the NFC and the Kansas City Chiefs of the AFC, and National Football Conference and American Football Conference. The game was played January 15, 1967, and the Packers defeated the Chiefs by a score of 35-10 to win the first ever Super Bowl. The NFL gave opportunities to people not only from the United States of America, but from all over the world to play the ever-growing sport of football. Talent kept getting better and better, and players kept getting better and better. And the NFL commissioner decided to create the NFL Hall of Fame to celebrate the best players of all time. The NFL kept getting more and more popular, so they had to expand. They added more teams, so more college players had the opportunity to play. The NFL has become the most popular sports league in American history. From its humble beginnings, the NFL has been a sports league anyone, no matter race or religion, can play.